Thank
Some seeking adventure, some bound in chains, through battles waged and fought, through victory and pain, by test of their courage, our freedom was gained. In homage to those gone before us, the heroes of lands in the sun, we vow to join hands and to focus on building one Caribbean. Raise your voices high, sing of your Caribbean pride. Sing it loud and strong, feel our hearts beat as one.
Welcome brothers, welcome sisters, welcome to our program On Target. And as usual, as soon as we start this program, you can pick up the telephone and give us a call. We never have a subject matter. We speak about anything: politics, religion, socio-economic issues, issues trending, any topical issue of the day. But most important, you can interrupt us at any time and introduce your own subject matter. You see, we believe that this country have a very good democratic system. The democratic system in Grenada is alive and well, irrespective of the negatives you hear people say. We have a number of radio stations. I believe over 30 of them have license, some in and out of functioning, and the social media galore. So people can and have the opportunity to express themselves. And we give you an opportunity to interrupt us at any time and speak. There is never a dull moment in Grenada. Election was on the 23rd of June. The National Democratic Congress won the election by 9 seats. The first time we had a 9-6 in Grenada was in 1976. We had a very strong opposition, the Alliance. All the political parties had to come together. One led by Maurice Bishop, but led by H.A. Blaze and Winston White, came together to take on the powerful Eric Gary. At that time, Bishop said he had the youths. Gary dropped the age of voting from 21 to 18, and the opposition got 6 seats and the government 9. Very interesting political debates at that time. All Grenadians was attached to the radio. Now with a 9-6, after the NNP has been dominating the democratic process in the country, winning 15 seats on 3 occasions. Caller, welcome. Punch.
Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre.
Yes, caller.
Yeah, my concern is concerning the education. Now, the Prime Minister announced that from September coming, there will be free education. Am I right or wrong?
Well, I don't know if you're right or wrong. How the Prime Minister say free. There are sometimes people make statement and it is relative. You have to take it in context.
All right, but my concern is about the school fee. Why does they pushing to have school fee pay for the next term and the Prime Minister announced that? What is the reason? Why you could give me an explanation on why you think that's going on?
You see, sometimes we speaking on both sides of our mouth at the same time. Remember in the 70s, I think it was in 74, 75 or 6 or 75 or what? 74. Eric Gary said education, school fees would be free. We don't have to pay school fees. He said from now on, we will deduct $5 every year from school fees. The revolution took place. They said, bang, education is free, no school fees. And then immediately we start to pay lab fees, registration fees, this fees, that fees. So sometimes statements are made and it is relative. You cannot say school fee is not free, but you never used to pay lab fees, and you have graduation fees. So the Prime Minister must have made his statement, but you have to look to see what is practical, what is implemented. They may come with other fees. The hard cold truth, it is extremely difficult for small countries like ours to run the education system totally dependent on the government. In most instances, you're going to have substandard quality. And those who have money going to go in private schools. So we have to wait to see. Our journalists, they're so politically minded. They're not asking the question, what you mean when you say school fee is free? Yes, caller?
Yes, Mr. Pierre.
I think that's the issue there. So you have to take it with a pinch of salt still.
But I find I've been baffled by that, because then one saying that and then the organization saying the other. The leader saying that and the organization saying the other. So that's kind of baffling me.
Yeah, but it baffle you. I told you already, Morris Bishop say that weed, you could plant weed. And then Fargo went to the police station and tell them what Morris Bishop see. And the police said, go and study Morris Bishop. And he called him a counter-revolutionary, and Fargo end up in jail.
Yeah.
So not all the time people say you have to ask what he means.
Okay.
Because it could have mean that registration from now on is free. But we think he might have said school fees, but what he means is registration fee. You might still have to pay lab fee, this fee, cultural fee, sports fee, that fee. You know?
Right, Mr. Pierre.
Yeah, my brother. But I'll try to find out more information on what they mean by that.
All right.
And I have my way of asking people who are in the system to get the information. Thank you, caller.
All right, Mr. Pierre.
Yeah. Yes, so sometimes when we hear these things, we have to ask questions. I do hope that this is a good period of time. I honestly believe the biggest winner in the election was the electoral process. The government, the losing side, have not chastised the election. They accept it as free and fair. It's a long time that didn't happen. The side that lose in the past 2-3 elections was blaming the electoral process. But this time, the side that loses say, well, God have its way of making decisions sometimes that we don't like. We have to accept the democratic process. They recognize that the election was free and fair. And that is important. Today, people used to be saying, one side win all the seats on 2 occasions. 2 occasions continuous. The NNP won all the 15 seats in parliament. And NNP supporters was jumping up. They happy, they glad. Now the NDC lose election, but they have 6 seats. So we have a strong government with 9 seats and a strong opposition. That's supposed to be very good for our country. Remember, I think on 2 elections, St. Vincent won by 1 seat majority. That was kind of shaky. But then the last election, Ralph Gonzalez won 9 seats. Although he had a diminishing majority. He did not have the popular vote. I think the opposition won the popular vote, but Ralph Gonzalez won the majority of seats. In Grenada context, the ruling party won the popular vote, and they have 9 seats in parliament. There is no excuse for the preservation of our democracy. The opposition got 6 seats. So we expect a very healthy democratic process. We can participate in it in pride. And you can give me a call on my program. The number to call is 442-0175. And we're on social media, Facebook. And we normally will read some posts. Maria Alex. He will always remain my leader. Love him to the bones. Dr. Mitchell, you are the best. That's a strong NNP complimenting Dr. Mitchell. Good afternoon, Mr. Pierre, and listeners and viewers of Real FM Radio, listening from Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Thank you. We always glad to have our people in Carriacou participating. You know, Dr. Mitchell is in opposition, and the NDC is still afraid of him. I don't think they're really afraid of him. But remember, Dr. Mitchell is the most successful politician in the Commonwealth. He's the most successful politician in Grenada after Eric, well, he and Eric Machogiri. These days are kind of reluctant to put Eric Gary before him. In all fairness, Eric Gary never won all the seats. Kit Mitchell won all the seats in 3 occasions. So he is the most successful politician in Grenada. And say what you want about him. He has real energy, an indomitable spirit, and very aggressive in his political career. So one must applaud him. So I don't think the NDC are afraid of him, but I think maybe they have a little envious respect for the doc. And the doc is a man on the ground. You would see him going from village to village. He has energy, real energy. And I think that is good. So it's important for us as a people to be tolerant to dissenting views. Because you support the NDC and John Galt support NNP, it does not mean that you mustn't have discussion. We must be able to sit down and exchange discussion. Even if we practice now giving a man 2 minutes to speak. We must encourage dialogue. We have to work together to build this country. The ruling party must initiate and send the olive branch out. If you don't, you're going to meet a lot of stalemate, particularly when you come in the communities. If the NNP is dynamic, and I don't think they wouldn't be, you have the likes of Peter David, Emmeline Pierre, Delma, you have the like of Modeste and Skeeter. Among them, you practically have 3 young people there that still believe they could win, so they will be dynamic. So if you don't send out an olive branch to them, then you may not have the unity in the community. There are some issues that transcend political parties, and particularly the ruling party have to initiate it. The ruling party have to initiate it. And you have to have political wisdom quick. I know you have the energy. There's no question about that. There's a lot of energy in the NDC and aspiration. But they also have to have the wisdom to be tolerant or to send out the olive branch to the NNP supporters. So that on some issues, you can work and it will transcend the party political boundaries. After all, this country is beautiful. I always think that Grenada is the most mature political country in the Caribbean. The most mature. We don't just follow convention. Grenadians are not afraid to take risk and to be very unorthodox. From Fedo to Erigeri, the British government had to send 2 battleships in Grenada to quell the Gary Skyred. 2 battleships, because at that time the people was reaping havoc on the estates. And remember, if they were not back in production, the economy would have collapsed. Then we had the 1974 crisis. We had strikes for 1 month. And a few days before independence, Gary called out his Tonton Makuts. I always could remember. He said all the voluntary constabularies for the protection of human rights, each one bring a friend, and tell their friends to bring 3 friends. No women and no children. So you had between 5 to 1,500 men. It depends on who you speak to. Whether you speak to a Jewel, you go say 1,500. If you speak to a Gayrite, they're going to bring your number to about 500 for the most. And these 2 groups clash in St. George's. And when they realized the stores was easier to break than the heads, they mash up the stores in town and loot the stores. And when Grenville here, town was looting, they loot Grenville too. And immediately, all the shops opened back. In 1979, we had a revolution. They overthrew a coup d'etat. Michael Baptiste would say a coup d'etat. I normally say revolution, or a revolutionary experiment. It resulted in some of the worst crimes in Grenada after slavery and colonialism. Over 3,000 people was sent to prison and a similar number to run for their life. Maurice Bishop and a number of members of the government was executed in the most horrible fashion on the 4th. And then we had the American invading Grenada or intervening or rescued. Kenny will always say rescue. I use a term to suit the company I'm in. So sometimes I say rescue, sometimes I say invade, and sometimes I say intervention. But I welcome all 3 of them. I was one of the strong supporters of American intervention, American rescue, or American invasion. And then we come back to having governments again. And from 1984, our election in Grenada have always been free and fair. Sometimes when party lose, they say they get jersey from Haiti and money in Jersey and all these things. It is not true. That is disfiguring the truth. So we're back with a process in Grenada where we will have a strong opposition and a strong government. And that is good for the country. This morning we had the swearing ceremony of the opposition. The Prime Minister was sworn in as leader of the opposition. And I think Kit is well suited for the post, and he's going to rise to the occasion. He will make a formidable opposition leader. You know? So and the other members of the cabinet involved there, all of them always need more time to talk. I've never heard they give one a time to speak and they did not have more to say. So we expect a very good, healthy discussion among opposition members. I noticed in the Prime Minister thank you speech, he couldn't resist speaking about electricity company. And I hope that the new government do not sell the company to one buyer. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Good morning, Mr. Pierre.
Yes.
You had looked at the swearing of the opposition?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I think he mentioned about the leadership. He said that in the next convention, there would be someone vying for leadership or something like that?
Yes, something to the side.
So if you become leader of the party, what would become of the opposition in Parliament? What do you think would happen? I just asking for your view.
I think the Prime Minister said, based upon convention, that if you choose a new leader, they would automatically become the leader of the opposition. But he also said if the leader is not an elected member, then he himself could take the decision to give up the opposition. He may take the decision to give up the opposition.
Yeah.
But he made it clear that he will be in Parliament for the next period representing his constituency.
Yeah, and what's about, where do a by-election come in there?
A by-election comes in if one politician dead if a politician resign, or if a politician is vacate the house, I think if you don't attend a certain amount of meetings or call at the house, something like that.
Right.
But if nobody resign, there is no buy. And I don't think if the NNP members are alive, you will see a by-election. They will not take any risk in having a by.
And what about the comments on the parliament, the cabinet that was appointed to the different ministry portfolio? Mr. Pierre, you heard anything mentioned about agriculture and tourism as a sector?
You mean by the opposition?
No, the present government, they sworn in last week. And I'm mentioning about the portfolio, the ministry that was appointed to different MPs and senators.
Yes, they have a minister of tourism.
But I saw it fall under economic development and planning.
Well, I think tourism, economic development and planning.
Yeah, so listen what they did. They put economic development and planning, and under that they put A, blue economy, B, ICT, agriculture, C, creative economy and tourism. What I'm saying here, Mr. Pierre, I think that tourism and agriculture should stand on their own and have a full-fledged minister to run that sector, those sectors. You don't think so?
Well, not necessarily for the policy of a government. If a government argues when they're in opposition that you're putting too much emphasis on tourism, when they come in power, immediately, they do not want to make it look so glaring, that they give tourism the biggest contributor to the economy that significance. It's a question of more straight politics.
Yeah, but I always think or find that those sectors, especially tourism, agriculture, which is the backbone, should stand on its own and have a full-fledged minister running that sector.
Well, sometimes you have a full-fledged minister running it, but you don't make it that apparent. You hide it in the realm of things. Because if you was damning tourism for the longest while, for years, then somebody go say, wait now, and they damning tourism? Because tourism is the biggest contributor to the economy.
Yeah.
Tourism, St. George's University, remuneration from away, and agriculture after. Way down.
Yeah, also I didn't hear anything mentioned about culture, that sector.
I think
And
they put it in the creative economy.
Yeah, they put also, I see they remove religious affairs from education and put it with health and wellness. I think that they should leave that with education.
Well, again, it's all, you see, it all depends on the policies of a government. And you have the written policy and the unwritten one. So they see culture as creative economy. Nothing is wrong with that.
New term? That's a new term?
It's a new term, but it's the same culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, they say it's a creative economy. You could make money from calypso, this culture, dance. So they say it's an economy of its own.
Okay, right, I understand. Don't you think civil aviation should be with tourism? They move it to infrastructure and physical development.
Well, you could put it in any way. You could go under communication and works. I think people put civil aviation with tourism because of a lot of negotiation take place at the tourist level with these things.
Yeah.
And you don't want too much of muggling with two ministers over an issue. But some people, separate it. So it's a question of strategy. It doesn't necessarily mean the significance of that ministry change. But you kind of clout it because remember, politicians always speaking to the constituency.
Yeah.
So the constituency do not see how it is shaded.
And Mr. Pierre, finally, what do you think about the transition lead? That term is advisors, they say?
Well, it is advisors, bearing in mind that all of them are political novice in the parliament.
Yes.
Then these individuals are the advisors. But if you say advisors, you might say job for the boys.
Right.
So it's better to give it another name, transition. How long that transition going to be It could be how long is necessary. Maybe 5 years.
So, for instance, in Carriacou, they put Judge Prime as advisor to the young man there?
Well, yes, they want to. I mean, George Prime came out publicly after being kind of silent, and he campaigned significantly. And obviously, you want to reward him for his efforts and contribution.
Education, Youth, Sports Affairs, they put Ms. Franca Bonnet in there as advisor.
Well, again, remember, you sideline the old older folks, you sideline them, but eventually they came in and give you some assistance.
Yeah.
And then you want to kind of, you want to continue the support. You want to make sure they stay in your camp. You want to make sure that they don't make trouble for you. So you bring them on the distance. And they know you could throw them out if they don't obey and they behave themselves.
And they also brought back Ann Peters to Health, Wellness and Religious Affairs as advisor.
Well, Ann Peters never leave them. She's been working with the party quietly. And maybe she didn't like the previous one's style. You remember when she was Minister of Health, she made so much noise to improve the health system throughout.
Yeah.
So now they must bring her back as an advisor, because the new minister might be kind of green in health. So if she come there, she could give him quiet guidance.
And last thing, Mr. Pierre, what's your view on the finance minister portfolio? Do you think he should be given that, or do you?
A lot of prime ministers want to be the one to be presenting the budget in parliament. It's a big thing. They want to be the one to be presenting the budget. And nothing is wrong with that. The prime minister automatically going to be in all the financial meeting as Minister of Finance with the IMF, the International Monetary Body, and CARICOM, and etc. And remember, if he takes away communication and infrastructure, finance is in this power block. And because he's kind of new to the politics, he don't want to give away all the power away from him. So the Ministry of Finance is a very powerful post.
And he have Richard Duncan there.
Well, Richard Duncan is a good ally there. He was in finance. Richard Duncan was in the bank.
Cooperative bank.
And Richard Duncan is going to be able to command some of the respect from the people of finance. And that is important. You always want finance, because sometimes when you're in political campaign, you make a lot of negative statements about these individuals.
Yeah.
And when you go there, you're difficult to work with them. For instance, I thought the remark made by Lennox Andrew was unacceptable. When he said that they sabotage the NDC in late payments during the period.
Payment?
Right?
When he mentioned about the late payment?
Yes, I think it was an unfortunate and unacceptable statement.
The farmer PS there?
Yeah, and they would have been concerned perhaps that the people in finance might not take it too lightly. It could well be that that's one of the reasons he never get the post.
Because when I heard that he was in the Grenville Cinema that night in a town hall meeting, he mentioned that, yeah?
Yeah, I think it was disgraceful. It's only because the union perhaps endorsed that political party. It seems that they didn't take issue with him. Because all governments from Eric Gary struggle sometimes to pay salaries.
Yeah.
But what government does, they make sure they pay monthly officers.
But
They may be late on pension.
It was frequent at the time, you know.
Well, yes, all governments have the trouble. All governments.
2008 to 2013, it was a frequent...
No, all governments have the problem. The problem is the strategy. You will not pay the people who provide service for you. You may pay pensioners late. You may be late with fortnightly payment, but you never late with monthly payment.
But he said that the amount of taxes the government collect on a monthly basis, there is no way they shouldn't be able to pay salaries. He mentioned that the same night, you know.
Yes, they could pay. That's what I'm telling you. It's a question of you on top things. You never don't pay monthly workers. Fortnightly workers, if they strike, it doesn't affect you. Nobody will hear it. Pensioners cannot strike. The people in the service industry that you pay for service, contract officers, they won't strike. But monthly workers would strike. In the 70s, Grenadian used to get paid the last Friday in the month. And after the last Friday passed and the strike against Gary started to pay them the last of the month.
Yes.
And I don't think they get paid for Christmas.
What do you think about paying every 2 weeks, twice a month?
Nothing's wrong with paying twice a month. The governments have to be careful. If the government struggle to pay every month and they decide to pay twice a month, they might have strike twice a month when they can pay. Now, what is important, you're going to notice the bank changing their attitude. Rather than make payments by the month, the bank is going to make payment by the fortnight. People who rent in houses go have to pay by the fortnight.
Now,
Because that will be a signal for a fundamental change in the entire country. And that,
No.
in the short term, could have some challenges.
Yeah, you have its disadvantages and advantages.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mr.
Yeah.
Pierre.
Thank you, caller. Yes, thank you, caller.
Have a nice day.
Yeah. Yes, the question of paying salary by the month, nothing is wrong with it. Nothing is wrong with it. In good financial times, that's all right. In hard times, where government is struggling to meet monthly salary, you could have serious challenges in the short term and medium term. In the long term, everybody going to accustom with it. Whether or not you explain to the trade union always tend to be a little bit more tolerant with these governments. The trade union has been not tolerant with Gary government and Kit Mitchell government. Otherwise, yes, caller, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr.
Yes,
Pierre.
my brother, welcome.
And the gentleman that spoke to you there, I thought he made some valuable contribution. I don't support all of them, but he made some valuable contribution. Just the same, I listened to the the opposition leader,
Prime Minister,
Dr.
not Prime
Kit
Minister.
Mitchell,
Yeah.
this morning, and I thought he made a very good contribution to himself. And one of the things that he said, which I don't believe that some of the supporters, including I as a supporter, are understanding yet, is that Mr. Dr. Mitchell is saying to us, we have lost. We have lost. NMP have lost. Give the people a chance and monitor them. And when they do things that is not in the right direction, he is going to oppose. I think that's the word that Dr. Mitchell is saying, and a lot of people not understanding and not hearing that. We are lost. NMP have lost the election. He accepts
Since on the 23rd, they lost.
right, and he accepts defeat. So a lot of things that is being said now should be held back from being said. At present, the new Prime Minister is on top of things and is making his fame now. He's on top of things, he's making his fame. I listened to him in the address that he made to the seminar that he attended, and he was good. What we have to do is to look for where the ventholes will be and talk about them. But at this present time, he is in control. So I think that is one of the fundamental...
And we must respect the democratic system.
That
And
is
the
one of the-
democratic system is alive and well in Grenada.
Exactly.
From 1984, it has been alive and well.
And I'm telling you, a lot of persons have not understand that yet.
Well, time will tell.
And the time for us to tell may make us say things that we shouldn't say.
Two things that is important here. One, a new government coming to power, and the supporters, the political activists, the social media warriors of the new government have to recognize you're no longer in opposition, you're in government.
Exactly.
And vice versa, the supporters of NNP have to prepare to work with the government as much as is possible for the development of our country.
And I prepare to work with government, but at the same time to point out things in my common sense.
So that is what they mean working
wrong.
with. You work with the government,
Right.
but you maintain your philosophy
Exactly.
and interests.
So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that some of us who are supporters, are members, because I'm not a supporter, I'm a member of the party. Some of us who are members of the party get that into our heads.
Well, the Prime Minister, I heard the Prime Minister say that, Emmeline Pierre say that, Kindra Mathurin Strode, Pamela, all the ministers I've heard so far are accepted defeat.
Right.
They wish them well and prepare to work together.
So I'm thinking that we have what I want to see. I heard Dr. Mitchell say that until the next convention, he will be the political leader of the party. I am saying to him, don't move too fast, but move fast enough that somebody could be molded under him. Don't move too fast, Dr. Mitchell. Please, Mr. Pape, could get that message to him. Get it for him.
No. I have no link or air to the.
You may find a link.
Yes, no. I have no link or air. I come on the program on target. I express my views and opinion on all subject matter.
If you happen to get a link on the ground,
I have no link on ground nor anything. All I have my link is on target.
Fast, but prepare somebody or let the person that will be taking over start to prepare.
I think the Prime Minister has been very clear on his issues repeatedly on many occasions. Who don't want to hear, don't hear. He has repeatedly been clear on the issue.
When he said that at the next convention, he will not stand, I think that might be a little bit premature.
He has said that on repeatedly. We have to believe in our people. We have to have confidence in our people, Chief. And we have to start with us.
But we have not dig that hole yet.
Right.
Don't try to cover it.
Okay.
We have not dig that hole yet. Let us dig that hole first, Mr. Pierre, and then we will cover it.
All right.
Because we have to be certain that whoever is coming there get the choice.
You must not be afraid of democracy.
Not democracy.
One of the things political party must understand, just let the democratic process take its place. That's all.
But Mr. Pierre,
and work with whoever is there.
If a fella is a good batsman, but he whooping when he's just good on start to bat, you won't like him to go and open bat.
But some, you never could tell. There are times when they send on a whooper they say beat him out of line. You never heard that in cricket?
Yeah,
they send on a man, they say this man pitching up the ball, beat him out of line.
Not open bat. That's open bat.
All right, thank you.
That open bat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, caller. Yes, the democratic process in Grenada is alive and well. And we must not freight democracy. But we must not try to manage democracy too much. Let the democratic process take its place and encourage conversation. People express themselves, their opinion. You understand the philosophy about the person. That is so important. What the person believes in. When Maurice Bishop speaks, people love Maurice Bishop. We have a caller on the line. Caller, welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Pierre.
Yeah, my brother.
Yeah. I think that the convention is the best place to start to see the idea because Dr. Mitchell already said you don't have picking nobody else. So usually convention die democracy. You know what I mean? You get to the right channel. So the people have to decide that, and that is fair enough. But the guy was before Mr. Bridgman. It's a long time to hear him be fair and balanced. So at least he talk nice.
Well, he asked me a lot of questions.
He asked the question, and
he asked me a lot of questions.
Yeah, you're calm and collective. But the leader of the Prime Minister, not present now, he mentioned on productivity, and I support him 100%. They really for productive guys. If some people want to work on the correct money, I believe that. But on the other hand, I see he did something by paying people who did not work, and that can also maybe. If we talk about productivity, some people stay home for 9 days and they say for rest and reflection, they don't decide to go to work. And now you have it as that was illegal. That is not you do work, you have to get no pay because if they could challenge you in court. But the reason why they challenge that guy, they know they was wrong. You can't stay out all these days and get to that. So I feel that movie is a political move. Like paying them, they are political move to gain favor because you know where you just tell people about productivity and in the end you come back and switch them and pay people who didn't produce. So that's my part.
He practically rewarded them for the support. Yes, I think I agree you made that point. It is not the first time in Grenada that unions did not work and did not get paid. Mr. Blaze deducted, or he said he didn't deduct. You say he did not pay you for the 2 days you did not work. When the union strike for 2 days, Mr. Blaze did not pay them for the 2 days. In this case, it's 9 days. We have a call on the line. Call a punch.
After Mr. Pierre,
Yes, my brother.
how everything?
Great, man.
Yeah, Mr. Pierre, listening to the opposition leader speak to Mitchell, and it was a wonderful speech. I want to speak just one thing that he mentioned about come together, your opportunity. As Mr. Bishop was saying, yes, there is a time, there might be 90 days for honeymoon, but then not because in 90 days, but if within the 90 days, things that they're doing that is not right, you could talk about it, you could criticize it, right? And I always say, we will not criticize the government because it's not the party that we vote for that in government. I want to say to people, whenever election party win election, is a government for all. Is a government for all. And one of the things that in the campaign, I was here talking about the people that walk in and talk about they retired and they still back still in the service. But so the people that they are so like here is that support of the NDC, like Franca, Mr. Richard Duncan is a good friend of mine, and not speaking about the qualification. Yes, they qualified to do the job, but they are retired. Right? Even Judge Prime others that and Peter they retired, but they are back. And what I'm saying, yes, in the 60s, and they could do the work. I don't see a problem with that. But see, when they condemn something and come back and do the same thing, we just find it hypocritical. Right? It's hypocritical. So I want to say as a supporter of NMP, yes, we lost election. We have to take it and we have to go back to the drawing board and look at where we gone wrong and work where we weak. We work there to strengthen where we strong. We work there to strengthen where we strong also. Condemning others. Allegations, people may say, oh, that one will always be NMP and they didn't vote for the person. When a man going behind it, no one knows who he voted for. Right? Many times we like to hear some allegations and we believe it's true and we just go aboard and just spreading it. So I want to say, when you hear something, they leave it there. You don't know if it's true. The people say everything, but they leave it there, right? And leave it and don't go further with that. So, Mr. Pierre, have a blessing.
Yeah, that's a very important point you make. You have a caller on the line? Caller, welcome. Oh, sorry. That's a very important. You go and we do everything to maintain the integrity of a man's vote. So when the election over, accept the result and stop pointing fingers. Yes, caller, welcome.
Hey, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, my brother.
It was impossible for NMP to win this election without people like Lennox Thomas, Gabriel Ranger, Tabla Williams, and the builders of the house. When you show the builders of the house outside of the house, when rain coming and they push in the door and asking for shelter, and those who didn't even have a clue how the house built, lock them outside. That is the result of this kind of ungratefulness. So I'm just saying that to say they have to go back to the folks who have ideas and all hands on deck in order for them to get this thing right again. And we are willing and ready to assist. But I'm grateful. That's my approach. Have a nice day, sir.
Okay, thank you, caller. I think maybe as the different ministers look back at the actions, they would have seen things they could have addressed better. And maybe they take that into consideration in moving forward. This ought not to be, you look, it may be several factors, but there may be factors that you would see was glaring you in the face and you was wondering how you miss it. And that is important. I want to comment on the issue you speak about paying the union. And I agree with the caller. The unions did not go to work for 9 days. It may not have been politically wise for the government not to pay them. It may not be politically astute. Perhaps the government should have paid them the money to cause less friction. But it also sends a message to politicians in Grenada. The trade union in Grenada is extremely strong and can mar any government. It's not a question whether they're wrong or they're right. If the trade union take a position, they can mar any government. It has been done before. In 1989, when we had the issue over pay, the trade union was firing at all plug. Mr. Blaze told the trade union leaders, the only way you could get money is if you get all the parliamentarians to go back in parliament and vote to give me a blank check to get the money for you. The trade union went back to all the politicians that was not in favor of Mr. Blaze. Mr. Blaze prorogued parliament. So to go back to parliament, you had to get the parliamentarians to discuss one thing and one thing alone. And they went back and gave Mr. Blaze the authority to get the money, even if it is from the devil in hell. Mr. Blaze sold the telephone company. And anytime you selling under desperation, you would never get the good price. Mr. Blaze sold the telephone company to get money. The trade union dance, they wine, they enjoy themselves, they eat cake and sorrel. And when January come, they find out that Mr. Blaze sold the telephone company. And if a bird could have fly in the sky and the company could have charged the bird, they had the legal authority to do it. Money came. And then immediately the government went on a fiasco selling government assets. They sold the electricity company. They sold NCB Bank. They sold GBN. They sold hotel. Every time the government wanted to meet the current expenditure, they sold assets. The previous NDC sold 13 pieces of property to pay salaries and to meet current expenditure. That was the window the union opened. Sometimes we forget our history. The unions is powerful. The union did not work for 9 days, 8 or 9. They say it's a rest and reflection. No private sector would pay you. But the government, the politicians forget how powerful the unions are. And nothing is wrong with that. The unions have the power and you could use the power to get what you want, wrong or right. So they would have lobbied and they would have given this necessary support to the new prime minister, and it's only fair to reward them. But it should remind politicians that the unions is powerful. And this is why sometimes I speak about the union like that. I believe the union must be more proactive if they are genuine in seeing development in our country, because we contribute to the giveaway sale of government assets. We contribute to the low productivity in our schools. Yes, caller, welcome.
Mr. Pierre.
Yes, caller, welcome.
He didn't just sell. You remember there was a time when he gave a golden shake hand, and a lot of people, young people, took their early pension.
It was not a golden handshake. The Americans gave support to streamline the public service. And because the government had bad legal advice, they made a blunder. And Derek Knights took the case and won it. And workers who were retrenched at the age of 23 and 24 years had to be paid as if they were at 60. It caused serious problem.
But they call it a golden shake?
Yes, they said that, but it also helped to cut social program and cause more decadence in our society.
I'm a man that believe in union because I was a member.
Unions are very important in the country.
I was a member of the Tower Union as a shop steward for about 11 years. So I know a little bit about unionism. But be very careful with union.
The union, you see, I think
it's a good thing, a very, very good
I think the challenge for politicians.
Be very careful with union. When you see the union hugging up the ruling party, don't think it's a joy of theirs.
But they have a right to do that. They lobby. Unions lobby.
Doctor, yes, but the present Speaker of the House said it openly that when he was asked to join the union, to join the government, Mr. Tillman Thomas, he told Mr. Tillman Thomas, if I'm joining the union, you have to give me benefits for my workers. And you knew what happened. And then you see what happened afterwards. Unions are very good, but be very careful with unions. They are very good. It helps to streamline and to get pay for people. And there are some employers that definitely advantage workers. So union is there, but be careful how you tread with them. When a union hugging up the government, it's very difficult when they have to go to bed. It's very difficult because sooner or later the same union is going to call on the government for certain conditions. And if you can't make it, you know what happening again.
Yes, caller. Yeah. Yes, thank you, caller. You see, the unions have a very important role to play in our society. One must understand that the union's interest is their workers. They seek the interest, the protection, and the benefit of the workers. And absolutely nothing is wrong in a union lobbying government or supporting government to obtain its objective. That is legitimate. That's what union does. So nothing is wrong with it. There's also nothing is wrong with people in the public recognizing that the country's development is important and paramount. You know, and that is the government's decision. So we can speak about it, but it's a question of strategy, policy, and what is the objective of the different parties. And the number to call is 442-0175, and you can always give me a call if you want. I'll try to read this post. Louise Noel, thank you for your articulation in today's program. I look forward to learning more from your platform in years to come because we must learn true democracy. True democracy. I think it's very important for Grenadians to understand one thing. While we might be the most progressive, mature people in the Caribbean, we have a very good democratic system that is well respected in the Caribbean. Sometimes, this is a good point, because a government that has been there for the last 2 occasions and won all the seats, lost election, but they are not blaming anybody. They ain't blaming Haiti. They're not blaming voter pardon. They're not cursing the electoral system. They recognize that the electoral system is good. And as I heard that, a gentleman asked me to comment thoughts of the past Minister of Education, Pierre, on her after-election speech in front of supporters. I did not listen to the entire speech, but I listened to that which was posted on Facebook to provide amount of negative criticism for the minister, for the parliamentarian then. Well, not even the parliamentarian, because at that time she lost election, for the past Minister of Education, Pierre. I listen over and over, and I find nothing politically objectionable about what she said. She accepted defeat. In one sense, she told our people that God have a way of allowing things to happen. She made a low punch at David. She said David beat Goliath in the Bible, but it's only one time David beat Goliath. I thought that was a sense of humor. It brought a little laughter, because she won her seat So there was a bittersweet moment. While our people was welcoming her, they lost the election. So they're glad she win, but they're sad. And I think she informed them, well, there was no need. The democratic system is intact. God permit us to lose. We are well represented in Parliament, and we will be the strongest of pressure groups. I see nothing objectionable or wrong with this sister's statement. And all you have to do is to compare it with any statement from an NDC member that lost election before. They blame Haiti. They blame money in Jersey. They blame voter pardon. They blame the electoral process. It was blame, 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 blame. I have not heard her blame the process. But a politician that loses must provide his people with a spirit to continue, to reassure them, to make them know I will be there for you. So I saw nothing wrong with her political comments. I thought it necessary because I promised to comment on it, and I was reminded on my WhatsApp that the people wanted to comment about it. I also listened to a statement from the minister, from the one who won in St. Andrews, Northeast Cape. I think in the ending, the government don't have to inform her about any activities that take place in her constituency. She would know in Parliament, but she was very pumped up. I saw her lively spirit, and it was a question of reassuring the people in her constituency. And we're very happy to be with you today, and we welcome all those who made comments. And we're back with you again tomorrow between 12 and 1, when we give you an opportunity to punch on any subject matter.
Triple N. Informative.